Hey everybody, welcome back. If at first you don't succeed, dust yourself off and try again. Oh, thank God. I was like, if they give us the keeper, this is a Goddard-Damerong moment. Q16Z H63R. Dude, we haven't been playing very well. The last run gave us good stuff. I can't deny that. The only thing it didn't give us was HP, which is unfortunately a pretty huge, enabler of success. And the only thing I can say in my own defense is that compared to like how I played Isaac a year ago or so, let's fight the boss. I think this is the right time for us to fight the boss, so we can maybe use the Void here if we choose. Compared to like a year ago, I used to just mindlessly take, like, every deal with the devil, and then if I lost, I would be like, well, maybe I shouldn't have paid 1 HP for Brother Bobby. I feel like my deal with the devil restraint is at a much better level. However, the runs still have not quite panned out the way that I would like. I think it's time for a little bit of, get back down to brass tacks. I got enough time for a lot of Isaac content today. I want to get back on the horse. I do feel a little bit in disarray when I don't have like a good performance in Isaac. It's like the basic tenet of my day has gone improperly. That's an easy choice there, and it's a good tiers upgrade for us early on. I kind of got interrupted so rudely by the game killing me in the last episode. But yeah, this weekend we're going to see the final Festival of Light fireworks. I'm not really like a fireworks guy, but, I can appreciate it. I have to, part of being an adult for me has been, this is like not a joke, by the way, but has been accepting that I'm boring. And sometimes, or not that I'm boring, because I think I'm an interesting guy, but like, oh, come on. But that I like to do boring things. And, like my ideal day off is just like doing chores and walking. So sometimes a compromise is in order, which is like, hey, let's do fun thing instead. And I'm like, okay. I've never been like a baby about, I don't want to do fun thing. Oh, but the traffic, meh. But still, like I very rarely am the first guy to suggest doing fun thing. I always go along with fun thing, but I'm rarely like, here's the fun thing I'd like to do. Part of growing up has been accepting my role in that. So I think when I was younger, you see fireworks and you're like, whatever, it's just, explosions in the sky. Now that I'm older, I'm still like, I don't get it. It's like flashing lights, but I appreciate it more. I'm like, man, the engineering know-how it must take to get this done, that's amazing. And if that's the level I have to interface with it, then as far as I'm concerned, that's a big win. I mean, this is no joke. Like, I have been this person for my whole life. I learned how to read really young, which I'm sure you're obviously aware of because I'm incredibly intelligent and never make mistakes, especially in digital toys. But I learned to read when I was like, I don't know, 3, roughly. I went to junior kindergarten when I was 3. And my mom has a story that she loves to tell. Now, I'm going to tell it. When she tells it, it's cute because she's a proud parent. When I tell it, it comes across as weirdly braggadocious about my intellectual ability when I was too young to even form long-term memories. But I went to, junior kindergarten, and the teacher called my mom and was like, hey, this is Mrs., kindergarten teacher. I just wanted to let you know, did you know Ryan can read? And my mom was like, yeah. And then the teacher was like, did you know, like, that's not typical? Like most, probably wasn't the only reader, but like a lot of the kids in junior kindergarten don't know how to read yet, They're 3 and 4 years old. And my mom was just like, oh, I had no idea. And that's to her credit, honestly. Like, it's not like I woke up one day and was like, now is the winter of our discontent made glorious summer by the sons of York. Hold on. Roll the bones, baby. I also like to live dangerously. It worked out very nicely as well. We don't get the HP with Void, but still. You know, my mom and my dad read to me all the time when I was growing up, which definitely made, like, a great base there. But anyway, where was I going with this? The point is, Mr. Alfred Nobel, where's my Nobel Prize for most avid young reader? I actually oh, no, I remember where I'm going now. So, like, in, you know, 2nd grade, we would have to, like, we had a little library in our classroom, and you'd have to, like, grab a book once, you know, because you'd have, like, an hour of quiet reading time or something like that. And I would always be annoyed when all that was left were, like, picture books. I was like, I never got it. But, you know, the kids were like, okay, we might as well take... You know what? Let's suck it up. I think HP-wise we're doing fine here. Let's get a charge and then move on. But, kids would always be like, I want the butterfly book because it's got pictures of butterflies in it. I was like, oh, fine, take your prosaic butterfly book. I didn't need it anyway. That book had too many pictures in it. You know, I was always that kid. I know it's weird. Don't get me wrong, but I'm sure there's probably dozens of us out there, other people that are listening to this that are like, I was that kid too. I don't understand the value of a picture. To this day. I would rather read words than look at pictures. That's my 2 cents. That's why I read the Chronicles of Narnia, even though I had to keep a dictionary beside me to look up every 6th word. It took me 18 years. Okay. Dude, I gotta tell you, Isaac-wise, this run is going extremely good. Like, everything's fallen into place. And we're lucky, we've had, like, quite a lot of Spirit Hearts show up, which is very helpful. Not a whole lot of items in the item pile, but that's because we've been lucky enough to turn them into, you know, pretty positive stat increases for us. I think that there is a very likely case to be mentioned that we've been pretty lucky there. So what we want now, like, our game plan, our victory condition. I mean, there's many routes to victory in Isaac, for sure. It's not A20 Slay the Spire, but most important thing I would say is if possible, deal with the devil ASAP, trade in our HP to get whatever. Doesn't really matter. That'll activate Whore of Babylon, and then we're pretty much off to the races as far as DPS goes. And we could use something that generates Spirit Hearts like Dark Bum. You know, I'm not holding it against Dark Bum that it was part of the screw job last time. It's okay. It happens. It's not Dark Bum's fault. You know there's a chance it's gonna pay out with the spider. You mad, bro? So that's like this. That's my Saturday, dude. You're probably sick of hearing me talk about it. I gotta carve out a 3-hour window to watch the digital release of Endgame. It's the first Marvel movie, and if you need a Marvel recommendation from me, you probably don't, but if you need one from me, it's the first time I've ever, like, made a Marvel digital or home release appointment viewing. Most of the time, you know, I see it in theaters, and I'm like, that was fun, and then, like, maybe I'll do a rewatch, like, 5 years later, and be like, yeah, that was pretty fun. This time I'm like, dude, I gotta see a game again. Dun, 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 dun. Anyway, we don't need to go in. I don't even like to court the controversy anymore. You know, you should enjoy it. We're in a little Marvel lull. If you're a Marvel agnostic or a Marvel atheist, enjoy it, because you know there's no Marvel content really coming out until like I think spring 2020. I can't remember. It's gonna be a while, at least. And the stuff that's coming out, everybody's like, what the heck is this? Shang-Chi. I don't know what that is. I'm sure they're gonna knock it out of the park with an 80+ Rotten Tomatoes score. Create a brand new superhero brand, the likes of which we've only seen 4 or 5 times before, cinematically speaking. Dude, you know what? As long as we're talking about cinema. Did you see the trailer for that Willem Dafoe, Robert Pattinson movie? The Lighthouse, that's it. Thank you, brain. Took a second to come up. I had to put some background operations, or I put that as a background operation while I was bantering. But That movie looks incredible. It looks like Return of the Obra Dinn come to life. I basically, you know, if I'm a Marvel fanboy, you gotta give me a little bit of credit, because I'm also very much becoming an A24 fanboy. I don't know if it's A24, A24. You know, they made, well, they distributed Hereditary, distributed, sure, why not? Midsommar, probably a bunch of other stuff. I think they did Good Time, another Robert Pattinson movie. If you are in the year 2019 and you still hold a grudge to Robert Pattinson, towards Robert Pattinson, I guess I should say, I'm just going to tell you, grow up. My man's a good actor, okay? I have the luxury of not having any built-up resentment towards Robert Pattinson, because I was too old or too young, I'm not sure. Which one was Twilight? 50-something ants or 14-year-old girls. I can't remember what the target demo of that one was, but either way, I was slightly too old. You know, I was probably 18. I was probably 19 when the first Twilight movie came out. Not a lot of people in my social circle were really interested in, you know, becoming part of the fandom for that. So I get it though. It was the same thing, like, you know, I mean, I don't hate Justin Bieber. Because he's like a pretty boy. You know, I have some resentment towards Justin Bieber because as like a 20-year-old, he got a DUI, which is just like, really, dude? Come on. Anyway. Hey, here's the thing. People make mistakes. That's a pretty big one. Especially, like, my man couldn't easily afford an Uber or, you know, like a private chauffeur. Or like a private chauffeur for his private chauffeur, but I digress. You know, but I don't have the same. I don't approach it from the same level as people who are like, I hate Justin Bieber because all the girls in my 6th grade class were obsessed with Justin Bieber. I get that because we had the same thing. I don't know. Like for me, it was more like, honestly, it was like Leonardo DiCaprio. You know, it was he's got no talent. He's just a pretty boy actor from Titanic or whatever. Now that I'm 30, I'm like, man, he's like the greatest movie star of our generation. Anyway. But I'm here to tell you to get over it. My man crushed it in Good Time. All the early buzz about this movie, The Lighthouse, says he crushed it as well. That movie looks fantastic. I will be there day one. And by day one, I mean probably that weekend, assuming it comes out close to me, which it probably will because I live in a somewhat artsy city. But I might have to go to an indie theater, which is also okay. I was like, we're in, I've talked about this a few times, but we're really in like a horror revolution. I know what I said. When I was a teenager, the only horror movies you could see were like, hey, remember the cool slasher filks is what I was gonna say. Remember the cool slasher films from the 1980s? Yeah, well, we made like one of those, but worse. The calls coming from inside the house or whatever. I went and saw that as opening weekend in theaters. No, it was not my idea. When a Stranger Calls 2005. But I will say, when that was one of those movies where the, you know, person I saw it with was like, oh my god, that was so scary. How did you like it? And I was like, well, I thought it was okay. And immediately we were both like, this is not gonna work. Square peg, round hole. But anyway, we're so lucky, I think, to be in this like horror renaissance with the Babadook and the Vavitch and the It Follows and the Hereditary, Midsommar, obviously. But I'm self-conscious about bringing them up because I've been so, you know, overblown perhaps in my praise for them by some people's standards. Why not? Let's give it a shot. I'm not going to throw away a chance to become Guppy. All I'm going to say, we will take advantage of this, but not yet. All I'm going to say is that right now, like, a lot of people are singing the praises of Midsommar, for sure. But when that gets a digital / Blu-ray release / comes out on Netflix, there's going to be a second boom. People are going to be like, why did nobody tell me about Midsommar? And I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be like, I was freaking telling you, okay? Anyway, you see it at your leisure. It's not, you know, it's not the must-see movie of the summer. It's not like you have to see it immediately to be part of the discourse. Plus, it's too late. It's already out of most theaters because The Lion King came out. But anyway. Speed up. We will take. We definitely want to go very aggro on this. I know it seems very dumb. Hold on. I'm trying to think about how we want to do this. Do we even use this? There you go. You don't get anything out of it. Why do we do this? Just to take us closer to Whore of Babylon. Although we're only going to have it for like literally 2 seconds. Because we're going to forget me now right now. Okay. So this run, let's be very, very clear. We're in it for the long haul. Definitely not worried about Whore of Babylon coming out here. Just doing everything, making the slow but correct decision as often as possible to hopefully stave off the dreaded, like, -2 streak, which is just embarrassing. I think we're living in a good age for movies in general. Not just, ooh, that's not so bad. I think we're living in a good age for movies in general. You know, I think there's been a lot of high-quality, original, independent movies. I know, you know, it's one of my chief frustrations of being online, and I don't want to just be like, wah, 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 but like, I feel like in both in games and in movies, like, things are maybe not as good as they've ever been. That requires a little bit more evidentiary backing it up, but I think they're really good. And yet, people are, like, mad all the time. But I never, like, for movies, I don't know, I'm not that part of the cinema sphere, but I just feel like I don't really, like, get it. Like, I get maybe being annoyed that Disney has so much reach, and you're like, The Lion King's not that good, and it's still gonna make like $1.5 billion. But like, at the end of the day, that doesn't like affect your life, I think. I mean, you might be like, man, I wish, you know, Your Name made that much money, and like, me too, I suppose. But, you know, there's always been like schlocky garbage that's done really well. You know, there's always been sequels, there's always been franchise. You know, Charles Bronson made like 400 Death Wish movies. It's not, I get the idea that, like, you know, sequels and, you know, cinematic universes and franchises, it's very easy to fall into the opinion, I think, that, like, they're undermining the cinema landscape. And there's probably a more nuanced discussion to be had about the fact that, I don't know, like, 8 out of the 10 screens at your local multiplex right now are probably running some Disney property. But that's like the business side. And if you're not in the business, I sort of just don't understand, like, how it's relevant. Compared to when I was a teen, like, I mean, I have a different opinion for a couple of reasons. One is I live in a city now instead of, like, you know, a small town. But I feel like independent, freaky stuff is, like, way more out there now than it was when I was younger. Like, when I was, trying to think of, like, the best example for this. The one I use all the time is, like, you know, Garden State came out. And when it came out, it was probably one of the biggest indie film releases of the 2000s. And yet, in order to see it, you know, there were, like, 4 screens in my province playing it. Now, like, I can't stress enough, if you've seen Midsommar, I hope you have the same, or at least you can understand where I'm coming at this from. The fact that some of the stuff they have in Midsommar is insane. And the fact that it was playing in a corporate multiplex in Vancouver blew my mind. I was like, people are complaining about the film industry, and maybe some of it's valid and some of it's not. But this crazy movie is playing, like, 1 theater away from Disney's Aladdin. That's nuts. It's like going to see a Gigi Allen show at, like, the Hollywood Bowl. It's like, how'd you get this venue, dude? You're taking a crap on the stage. That's, I mean, that's really where I'm at there. I don't want to invoke the Louis C.K. bit for a number of different reasons. But, we'll just Suck that one up. But, you know, the flying bit where he's like, everything's awesome and no one's happy. I don't think it's necessarily even valid because I think lots of people are happy. But I'm like, man, it's the same with games. I'm like, man, sure, Epic Game Store stuff. Okay, it's controversial. There's no doubt about it. And microtransactions, yeah. But I'm like, dude, the amount of, like, cool indie stuff coming out this day and age is really cool. And I know you're what, like, you know, have indies dwindled in prominence compared to like maybe 2012, 2013. Yeah, but I actually think the quality of game has gone way up. To be honest with you, this is what I'm about to say is like pretty rude, but a lot of the time, games that got huge amounts of press in like 2012 or 2013, basically, I don't think those games would pass muster if they came out in 2019. It was like, hey, it's a puzzle platformer, but, you know, this one uses magnets. Oh my god, I've never seen anything like this before. You know? And there's... I don't want to insult those games, because they were like, for their time, we were still in an era where we were like, man, people are making games that are not cover-based first and third-person shooters. That's incredible. But, you know, I think the quality of games that come out independently now tend to be way more impressive than they were like 7 or 8 years ago. And then like Nintendo's crushing it with the Switch. PS4 has been very successful. I'll just abstain from talking about the Xbox One because I'm ignorant with it. And then PC gaming has like continued its renaissance, and then yet everybody's just like I get it, okay? I really actually do, because I've been on the internet since 1934. But I'm like, okay, yeah, you can spend real money to gamble in the GTA 5 online casino. Do I find that crappy? Yeah, but I find like, I mean, I'm a millennial boomer. I find a lot of stuff crappy. You ever hear my bits? I got an issue with everything, you know? But I'm like, the actual quality of the products that are coming out in the industry, I don't think it is, well, I don't know, here's the thing, whenever you say something awesome came out, people accuse you a little bit of recency bias, you know? They're like, you know, oh, it's not that good, it's just recency bias. If recency bias is real, which I think there's a case to be made that it is to some extent, I think there's also like a past bias where people are like, things were always better back in the day. Well, in 1994, where, you know, so many great games were coming out, those were the days. Yeah, if you wanted to buy a Super Nintendo game, it was 110 Canadian dollars, and there was only one store in the city that sold it, and if the game was broken at launch, they could never patch it, and and yada yada. You get the idea. You know, it's, oh, thank you, Holy Mantle. Not that we needed it, but I appreciate it. I always warn people, I guess. You know, I do think that there's always a little bit of a recency bias, I think, is real. To some extent, for sure. But I think people maybe overrate recency bias and underrate nostalgia bias. As time goes on, you tend to forget about the bad stuff from like a period, I think, and you only remember the highlights. Let's suck it up. I don't know what it is, but let's suck it up. That's just my 2 cents, you know? There's a case to be made on the alternative side, which is if nobody talks about the negative stuff will persist. And I'm like, yeah, but everybody's talking about the negative stuff, and the negative stuff is still persisting. You know, maybe, I don't know. I don't even want to get into it, because it is controversial. But I'm starting to think that the people who spend $5 grand a year on FIFA Ultimate transactions actually want to spend $5 grand and you could go back and you can watch, you know, hundreds of my videos where I, you know, particularly Isaac, because we end up getting into the weeds a lot, but where I talk about the fact that I do think, you know, a lot of these games are preying on gambling addiction, and then a lot of the people who maybe think that they enjoy this stuff are actually just kind of like compulsive gamblers in denial. And that's a very judgmental thing to say, but like, I don't know. I think it depends on what the reason that you enjoy loot boxes. If you enjoy loot boxes predominantly for the uncertainty of knowing what you're gonna get, I think that that's troubling. And I mean, I still stand by what I said many years ago, where I was like, I think loot boxes are actually worse than real gambling. Because at least with real gambling, yeah, I mean, you can ruin your life. You can ruin your life financially with loot boxes if you try it hard enough, too, to be fair. But at least, like, you can win money. Whereas, you know, with loot boxes, you put in 50 bucks and the jackpot is like, I got a skin that I wanted. And I don't know, I still feel like I'm kind of taking crazy pills when people are like, it's not as bad as real gambling. Dude, I think it's worse. I think casinos look at, like, loot boxes and they're like, man, we're in the wrong business. You mean we could get people to give us their money and give them literally nothing tangible in return? You guys are geniuses. Anyway, it's a hot button issue. I'm just saying, I think I'm firmly on the side of, I think things are better than people seem to realize, and I'm tired of being called naive as a result of that. But anyway, your mileage may vary, okay? We can coexist. As long as you don't ask me if the cold brew coffee in my cart is actually milk. Or, God forbid, milk. So this run, it's been a long one. I mean, sort of. It's been a little on the longer side. But we've really, I mean, Apollyon, this is the perfect run for Apollyon, I would say. And it's kind of the perfect run, I think, for getting a little bit of confidence back underneath me, to be honest. Like, I feel like the badness of our past 2 runs prior to this is kind of fading away a little bit. And instead, I got a little bit of underlying confidence again. It feels nice. Certainly not playing perfectly, but having a very decent run. Now, I will say the music industry, I got no idea, dude. I have no meta opinion on the music industry at all. I'm out of the game. I'm still just going to Google Play Music, which everyone makes fun of me for having Google Play Music Premium. Apparently, it's all about Spotify these days. I don't know, dude. I don't know what's hip with the kids. Taka, 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 taka. I just go to Google Play Music, I type in Pavement, and I hit Start Radio. And then it's like Pavement, and I'm like, yeah. And then it's like, how about this song by the Wrens? And I was like, if I wanted to listen to new music, I would follow Lil Nas X on Twitter. Play the hits. Play the stuff I'm familiar with. Why do you think that listening to the same song over and over, if you like the song, is pleasant, but watching the same movie over and over is kind of tedious? What's up with that? I'm not saying it's a contradiction or hypocritical. I'm just saying, what do you think the reasons are for that? I mean, there's some obvious ones. A song is 3 minutes long, 4 minutes long, 10 minutes long, you know, blah, blah, blah. Shorter than a movie, I think, is a fair assessment. Most of the time. But there are people, and you know, I've done it myself, that'll just listen to the same song for 2 hours. Whereas the idea of like, hey, you just watched that movie, do you want to watch it immediately again? For most people, they would be like, are you insane? I guess, you know, I mean, I'm not the expert on this, I'm just spitballing. I guess part of it, I would like the keys, honestly, is that part of the fun of a movie is not necessarily knowing where the story is going. And once you actually know what's going to happen, it takes away a little bit of the interest factor. Not for everything. Some movies get better on rewatches because you're looking for clues that the director actually laid for, you know, groundwork, you know? So then later you watch it and you're like, oh, look at the poster on her bedroom wall. Ah, we need this for Horror Babylon. Don't shoot the messenger. And permanent polar invincibility, for that matter. I think we will jet out of this run ASAP because it's extremely good. This is Holy Mantle Mom's knife. This is what it took for me to get back on the horse, and I'm okay with it. Have you ever watched a movie and then immediately watched it back? I've only done it once in my entire life, and it took a perfect storm of scenarios. Me and my friend ended up watching Super Troopers in 8th grade like 5 times. We went together for like take your kid to work day, but there was nothing for us to do. So we just kind of sat in like a spare room at this office and like we walked to Blockbuster Video. Like, I mean, this was a bad take your kid to work day, honestly. But we walked to Blockbuster Video. We rented Super Troopers. And then, like, we watched it, and we're like, okay, it's 11 a.m. What do you want to do? There's nothing to do. I guess we'll just watch Super Troopers again. Why didn't we just go play Fortnite on our cell phones? Because it was the year 2002, sweetheart. Couldn't you tell by the fact that Blockbuster still existed? So I think on that day, I probably watched Super Troopers 4 times, maybe 3.5. But that's the only time I can think of in my entire life that I have ever watched a movie and immediately started it again. It would take, I mean, honestly, as an adult, if I watched Super Troopers and then I had nothing to do afterwards, I would probably, let's assume I'm in like a Faraday cage so my phone doesn't work. I would probably rather just sit in silence or like, I don't know, try to take a nap or something like that. That's not an insult to Super Troopers necessarily. I think that movie is substantially overrated, but otherwise okay. You know, I don't think it's a horrible movie, let me put it that way, but the thought of watching it for 8 consecutive hours with no monetary remuneration, it doesn't appeal to me. No longer, at least. But we have the luxury of living in a different age now. I just want the stats, brother. Alright, this is like, without a doubt, the exact run I needed. Feeling good. A lot more Isaac left in the tank today. Now I can start to build something. Was it a little on the easy side? Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't think we ever, basically over the course of this run, ever found ourselves less than 6 hits away from death, which is actually extremely sick. I feel content in saying that owns, like, massively. Tough Love is a great pickup here, too. Alright. This takes us to the most important, you know, I'm always talking about, you know, getting a 100 streak. Oh, getting a double-digit streak. You know what the most important streak number is? 1. That means you're moving in the positive direction. And, you know, per run, you can only improve your streak by 1. It's the most important number in streaking. It's linear progression. If you look at the equation of the line of a streak, it's very simple. You know y equals mx plus b? Well, in this case, b is 0. Literally, y equals 1x. It's the simplest. I definitely did that right. Look. 4th grade math, I'm real fuzzy on. I do not know how to do long division. And I'm being 100% sincere. If you asked me to do long division, I would just pull out my phone. If you told me I couldn't use my phone, I would be like, go ahead and try to stop me, brother. But 10th grade math, really any form of algebra, dude, it just makes sense. Long division is like this archaic recipe. And then, oh, you put this symbol over here, carry the 1, shift all these over 1 to the left. Algebras, just solve the equation, just do a substitution elimination, dummy. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you did, click the like button. Helps out a great deal. Of course, subscribe if you want to see more in the future. For now, thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. See ya!